Guys, thank you so much for giving us 45 minutes of your time. I know we are 103 Eastern Coast, Eastern time zone. My name is Nuno Gonçalves. I lead workforce strategy for Reejig. I'm joined here by Jeff, and I'll show Jeff is there. Jeff Mack, he's our head of marketing. Today it's the first event that we're doing on this topic. It is a consequence of a conversation that we had actually, Linda, in New York earlier this year, where we were in a room full of HR executives, at least 45 to 50 HR executives, and we were asking, who in the room has built an agent ever? And there were like three hands that came up, and two of those were from Reejig. So we said, listen, there's maybe something that we can eventually try to do, which is ultimately trying to demystify a little bit what is this of creating an agent, and how do we do this, and how are other companies also doing this. So here's a little bit of the plan. So if you allow me, I'll start by, and by the way, I'll start by sharing my screen real quick. Jeff, are we seeing the right screen? Am I okay?
We're good.
Wonderful. So as I said, Nuno and Jeff, the intent today is to do this. As you see, everybody's kind of able to do everything, come out of mute, comment on chat, make any reactions. That will always good, so that we understand if we're doing a good job or not, or a bad job. It's okay as well. So be as interactive as you want us to be as well. What we're trying to do today is to have a strategic conversation around AI and how we build AI agents. It would be interesting if you guys want to share in the chat as well. What's your experience with AI agents? What's your kind of reality in your organization around kind of the building of agents? What we are seeing is that we're seeing some organizations building a lot of agents, but not actually having a lot of utilization and a lot of uptake on the way that those agents are transforming work. So let's have a conversation of how could we position the building of agents, but also in the scope of trying to change and evolve work. And as we always say, to unlock time so that we are able to accelerate and use that time to do many other things that we might want to do as an organization and as individuals as well. So what this session is, it is a case to understanding work before automating it. A lot of organizations that we speak with, they say, we're going to automate and we're going to build agents and we're going to bring kind of out of the box agents. But the reality is that then they just sit there and it's actually not changing work. So how can you go about it and understand what work can and should eventually be automated, and then ultimately be able to build the agent accordingly? So I'll do part of the framing, then Jeff is the one taking all the risk here, because he will try to build an agent live with you guys, hoping that technology will help us as well. So it is a guide to what I call purposeful automation. It's automating with a purpose, meaning with an understanding of what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve, what are we trying to change in our work environment, and in one way or the other, demystifying how can these low-code agents can be built as well. We believe at Reejig that everybody can and should ultimately be an agent builder for whatever you have for your personal life or professional life. So let's start by demystifying this as well. This is a foundation. These are kind of the backbones of the connection between work and agents and AI. It's not something that you're going to say, oh my God, now I spent like 20 minutes with Jeff and now I can go and automate my compensation process. Please don't do that. This is being recorded. I want to make sure that you understand this is not that, right? It's not a coding class. It's not a product demo. We're not going to demo our product. We have a lot of friends in the room that knows us as well. If you want to know us, then you can connect with us, but we will not be doing this product demo. And it's not kind of of course, a blanket recommendation to automate roles. Anyway, we are almost good to go. It's not a replacement for thoughtful work and workforce planning, and we'll see what that means in a little bit. What we are simplifying this, so we have our frameworks, but simplifying our frameworks, our belief is that first and foremost, you need to make work visible. So the thing is that if you're automating, what are you automating? You're automating work. So if you don't understand ultimately how work is built in your organization, then building it, it's just building it for fun. It's not ultimately intended to impact and automate work one way or the other. So a lot of the work that we do is and have been doing with our clients is how to make this work visible. We talk about tasks and subtasks and for all the organizations, for all the roles, and then ultimately really understand how those tasks interact with each other. So we then transform tasks into workflows, and then think of this as a giant Lego puzzle, and that we deconstruct and we know all the different pieces of work within an organization. So in your case, if you're automating your job, so you know it better than anyone, if you're automating someone else's job because you're in HR and IT, it is important for you to understand how work is done, and what ultimately AI will help you to automate one way or the other. So do your best to make this work visible. Our clients, it's easier because they have everything in our work operating system. You're not our clients, then try to understand what that is and make sure that you understand how Gen AI can help you and how the agents can help you free up capacity. Automate to free up capacity. That's the driver that we always have. Now, for the big companies that I see also in the chat, and we see J&J and UHG and many big companies and Walmart. The other difficulty is to understand where to start. So if you actually understand work, then what are the pieces of work? What are the workflows that ultimately will give you more, that are more exposed to automation? And if you do automate, will liberate more time to your organization. So make work visible, understand where do you have more opportunities, and then ultimately prioritize those tasks, and then go and build. This brings the purpose. This then allows you to say, listen, I'm doing the step 3, which is build and launch. I'm building 3 because I understand what is the work. I understand what I'm hoping to expect with this automation, and then ultimately you will be in a position to build with purpose, and then understand whether your agent is doing what they're supposed to do, which is ultimately gaining your time and unlocking more time as well. Step number 1, see the work. This is a print screen of what we have. So the thing is that what we have gives a lot of precision. So it's understanding the work and going to the levels of detail that we will require to understand where to go. Step 2, identify top tasks that are ready for reinvention, as I was saying. We are trying to go even deeper, not only on the identification of the task, but actually understand, okay, what can we consider to be what we call low-value work? What are the tasks that ultimately we believe in your organization are driving more revenue? What are ultimately the no-joy tasks that 99.9% of the organizations or the people don't like to do? What are the tasks that we believe accelerate more creativity and innovation? What are the tasks, especially for you, that might eventually be on more regulated environments? What are the tasks that ultimately can and should ultimately protect your business, that where you might eventually have more risk, and where you probably need to take more attention when you're trying to reinvent and trying to automate as well? So that's step 2, and then step 3, go and design. Understand that at this moment, the way that we see the maturity of Gen AI is not replacing full roles. We know that. I don't think there's a place where we say, oh my God, this role no longer exists. It's fully done by AI. What we're seeing also from a security perspective is that AI is not even automating really, for the vast majority of times, full tasks. AI is actually automating subtasks. So where you have still a human that is coordinating, and it's a human in the loop that is coordinating that work with the augmentation and automation of some parts of that work. So we transform tasks in what we call workflows. You see that on your right. So every single one of those tasks has those subtasks, and then we map the tasks to the agents, and then very purposefully decide where to automate as well. For this specific case, we grabbed something a little bit arbitrary. So we knew that in the case of these HR folks, that I am as well, one of the things that was that everybody wants to always tackle is the negotiating or the offer making process to candidates. So we could have chosen everything else. So I don't know why we chose this, but I think it was a great example. So yesterday I went to our work operating system. I tried to understand, okay, what is the workflow that we have mapped for one of our clients on how to negotiate a job offer and manage the offer process. And these are kind of the six kind of subtasks that we have there mapped. We understand what is the AI potential. We have an algorithm that tries to understand how predictable is the task, how data dependent is the task, how much human judgment is required to deliver the task, so that it calculates this AI potential. And then, as you can see there, roughly 30%. And then we say, listen, if this is what we want to solve, because it's what's most important for our business, then this is what we're going to do. And that's what we are trying to do here. So it's giving you an example of how to guide the decision of purposefully deciding what to automate, and so that you don't get to the point where you have 3,000, 4,000, 6,000, 10,000 agents in your organization with very low adoption without changing a lot of the work. So if you actually do that, you get to a place where you can be very purposeful and driven to the work that you want to ultimately automate. How does that sound so far? Please, I'm seeing also and I'll transition to Jeff. If there's any questions, just come out of mute or just post it on chat as well. So now that we know, then how do we build this, Jeff?
Awesome. Well, thank you, Nuno. I think we have 45 minutes on the calendar for you guys. We do want to make sure that we give time for you guys to ask questions. So I may or may not go through the actual build slightly quicker than normal, just so we can get to questions. But as Nuno said, when we think about building agents, we really want to be very deliberate in what we're building. And that whole idea of understanding the work that's happening in the organization, that's going to be paramount, because just like Nuno said, you want to sort of start off by automating those tasks that I think he called them no joy. I mean, there's some tasks that I probably would want to automate that are joyful tasks, but you want to automate the tasks that are maybe like repetitive, that are just doing the same thing over and over again, or tasks where it's really just a sort of a knowledge sharing type of thing, where you're just going to someone asking essentially the same questions from the same expertise from their brain of knowledge. Those are great candidates for automation. So for this specific build, this is what I would consider to be a relatively simple agent, but I think that's a great way to start. And our plan for this webinar is we're going to start a webinar series where we're going to be building different agents week after week, or a few times each month. So we figure let's start easy to ease people into this idea. And then probably in future sessions, we'll do more complex things that may stay within Microsoft Copilot, which is what we're going to be using today, or potentially be leveraging some of the other agent building technology out there, like an N8N, that will allow you to do more complex things. But for today, we're going to keep it simple. So let me share my screen. All right, so you should all see my screen here. And like I said, as I'm going through this, if you have questions, just throw them in the chat. And Nuno, since I'm sharing my screen, I can't see the questions, so just interrupt
I'm
me
on it.
if it makes sense to interrupt me.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm on it.
Great, awesome. So for this build, we're going to be doing the offer compensation agent, which essentially is going to be an agent that's going to serve as sort of your rewards or your comp expert internally. So instead of having to go back and forth with that person and ask them, hey, like, what's the salary bands for this role in this location? Or, hey, can we offer this person this? This agent is essentially going to be your first line of defense to get some of that knowledge that you need, so that you're not constantly bothering that person over and over again. So like I mentioned, this is going to be a relatively simple agent, but I think it's a good one to sort of serve as an introduction into building these agents. And for this specific agent, we're going to be using Microsoft Copilot Studio. So I saw in the chat a lot of you mentioned that your enterprise solution is Copilot. That's amazing. We love Copilot. We do a lot of partnerships and things with Microsoft, so it's a good solution. The one thing I will caveat in saying is that just because you have a Copilot license or a seat and can access Copilot, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to access Copilot Studio. So that's just something for you to understand and think about. If you, after this webinar, want to go start trying to build something, you may not have Copilot Studio access, so you'll just have to ask your IT team or whomever to see if they can get you a seat for it. But the reason that we're using Copilot Studio for this specific build is that this is what's considered to be a no-code agent builder. So you don't really need to be very technical at all. You just need to sort of have an idea of what you want the agent to do, and then be able to sort of type what you want it to do. And you don't even have to be an expert at prompting. We'll talk a little bit about that. But if that sounds good to everyone, I'm gonna go ahead and dive in. So this here on screen is Copilot Studio, and this is where you can build these agents. And you can build more complex agents than what we're going to build today, or you can build very simple agents. And so I'm going to dive in to show you what this looks like. So if we go to agents, you'll see here, these are the agents that I've already built. So I actually already built this agent like twice because one thing about Microsoft Copilot Studio is that sometimes it's a little bit slow. So if we are running into an instance where things are taking a long time, I was smart and I have a backup plan and a redundancy here built in, so I can show you sort of what we need to see from something that I've already built. But we're gonna try to build a new one from scratch. So let me just move Nuno out of the way here. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to go ahead and you want to create a blank agent. So I'm going to click Create Blank Agent. It's going to take a few minutes because it's actually setting up sort of the infrastructure and some of the backend for what this agent ultimately will become. So as it loads here, you'll notice that there's a bunch of different tabs here at the top, all important, but we're going to start on the overview and basically work ourselves down this overview tab to build this agent. And as you can see, it's still taking a little bit of time to get itself ready to go, but that's fine. So first step, you want to give your agent a name. So as we wait for this to load up, unfortunately, it's not letting me do that right this second, so I may have to go to the redundancy plan. Um, oh, there we go. Okay, cool. So it's been provisioned. So we're good. Step one is good. So we want to give the agent a name. So you want to go ahead and just go here and click Edit. And we are going to call this the compensation offer approval agent. And then you're definitely going to want to give it a description. This is an optional step, but I would say it's a required step because as you start to build more and more agents within your organization, you're going to want to have an understanding of what each and every one of them do. So for this one, let's just type in provides guidance on compensation for new hires. Perfect. So good. And if you are fancy, you could create an icon. We're not going to do that for today. So we can save that. It'll take a few seconds to process that request, and then it should pop up here. Great. So we have a name. So now we sort of have an agent. The next step is we're going to choose the model or the LLM that we want to use for this agent. So in Microsoft Copilot Studio, you actually have the opportunity to use models from OpenAI, which are the ChatGPT models, or the models from Anthropic, which are Claude. I'm not going to go too deep into detail around the differences between the different models here, but essentially each of these models more or less do specific things really, really well. So as you start thinking about what you want your agent to do, that's going to inform which model makes the most sense for you. So for this example, this is a pretty straightforward, pretty low level agent that we're building. So we're going to build it with GPT-4.1, which is a legacy model from ChatGPT. And it's like a really great model for doing like most things at a very economical rate. So it's not going to consume lots of tokens. It's not going to cost you a ton of money. It's going to be able to do the job relatively good. But if you were looking to build a different agent that maybe has more complex reasoning or it needs to go a little bit deeper with regards to research and all of those, you may want to use a different agent. So you may want something that's like really research based, like GPT-5 reasoning, or GPT-5 Auto, which is a really interesting model because it'll actually try to understand what you're trying to accomplish, and then it'll switch to the right model for you automatically. Or if you're looking to do something that's maybe more code intensive, research intensive, you can go ahead and use one of the Anthropic models. So either Sonnet, which is their basic sort of model, or Opus, which is going to be something that's going to be a little bit more depth of research, but it'll also take longer to actually run itself. So for this one, we're going to use GPT 4.1. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to provide it with instructions. So instructions is really where you're going to go ahead and you're going to enter your prompt, right? And I would go ahead and say that the best agents, and this is really a general statement for all of AI, but like the best output is typically going to come from the best input, right? Garbage in, garbage out, or vice versa. So while it's not critical to be a great prompter, it is important to have a good prompt. So over time, I don't know how, and maybe this is a good question to pop into the chat, but I would love to just get a sense of how you would rate yourself on your ability to create prompts for AI. So just on a scale of 1 to 10, just drop in how you think you are as someone who can develop prompts. And Nuno, once you start seeing some answers, just maybe interrupt me and let me know where everyone is. But prompting is going to essentially be the most important step for any agent building. And I've personally, even though I'm the head of marketing here at Reejig, before I joined Reejig, I spent probably the last 2.5 years or so really heavily involved in AI and agent building and GPT building and building really elaborate prompts. So I would consider myself to be a pretty good prompter. And what I've seen from a lot of people who maybe haven't started to dip their toes into these waters yet is that one of the biggest barriers of entry is that they just don't feel really confident with developing the prompts, right? Maybe they just aren't sure exactly how to structure prompts. Maybe they've done really basic prompts, like one sentence prompts, and haven't really seen output that is satisfactory to them. That's like the big difference. If you were to see me and my wife will usually come into my office and she'll see me like, creating prompts in ChatGPT or Claude, and she asks me if I'm writing a novel. And if I go into her office and look at the prompts that she's writing one sentence. What we get from each of our prompts is wildly different. So prompting is going to be pretty important. But I think the beautiful thing about prompting today is even if you're not an expert, there's ways to get better quickly. So Microsoft actually has, I'm going to switch over to Copilot Chat. Microsoft actually has an agent that they've built, and this is available to anybody, and it's called Prompt Coach. And what Prompt Coach allows you to do is it allows you to sort of, maybe poorly explain what you're trying to accomplish, and it will clean up that language to create a better structured prompt that you can then leverage on other things. So just to give you an example of what this would look like, I have a basic prompt that we've written for this. I'm going to go ahead and just paste it in here. So real quick, I'd like your help. So Prompt Coach, help me. I'd like your help creating the following agent in Copilot Studio. So I'm actually telling it where I'm going to use the prompt that it outputs for me. That's important. Can you help me by drafting a prompt to input into Copilot Studio to get quick, optimal agent that operates only on enterprise data included in the agent knowledge, recruiter access to salary bands for new roles? What it does, agent supports recruiters by quickly providing the correct salary band and package guidance for new open role. It reviews spreadsheets provided for external salary benchmarks, internal salary bands. It returns the appropriate salary band based on role, level, and location. It explains constraints and ranges. It flags when a role sits outside standard policy. It directs exceptions to the right approval path. It does not approve offers. So why is this high value? Getting salary guidance raw is expensive, it's slow, it creates delays, rework, poor candidate experience. Today, this often takes days, multiple stakeholders, yada, yada, yada. So I basically have just dumped what I want this thing to do here into the prompt coach. And if I go submit that to the prompt coach, it'll take a second or so, but it'll essentially help me improve that prompt, which will allow me to get maximum output. So before it does, though, it does say, hey, I don't have enough info from you. So can you just give me some context? What specific sources will the agent use? For example, the exact names or locations of the spreadsheets, blah, blah, blah. Providing this helps me write prompt that clearly instructs Copilot Studio how to use this. Amazing. So let me tell it what sources it's going to use. Um, we'll use two spreadsheets that contain internal salary bands and external salary bands. Cool. So I've given it that information and now it should spit out oh, still asking me questions. All right. So it's going to ask me what type of answers I want. So should they be short and direct? Sure. Short and direct. Now it should give me a prompt here. Amazing. So there it is. It's written the prompt for me. I can go ahead and copy and paste all of this back into the agent that we're building. But because I think that I'm a decent prompter, I've gone ahead and I've actually pre-written a prompt that I want to use. So let me copy and paste that, and then I'll walk you through how I structured this and why I think this is actually a great way to prompt.
And Jeff, I think
Yep.
so. We have to your questions. There's answers from 0 of
Yeah.
experience kind of in prompting to 10 out of 10 because Mallory also says, I also use Copilot prompt coach. So for
Oh,
her, like
nice.
10 out of 10. So yeah, so we have everything in between. And some of our good friends, Susan is here, Don is here, Andrew is also here, and they are they're getting to become super users
Amazing.
between 7, 8, and a 9 there as well.
Love it. Cool. As you can see, like the way that I structure my prompts, I try to be very deliberate in it. And what we've actually written here at Reejig, which will be launched very soon, and we'll actually share with all of you if you want it, is we've written our own Reejig prompt guide, and we've also created a prompt cheat sheet. So just at a very high level, when I'm creating prompts, the number one thing to remember or to know is that context is going to be king when you're writing your prompts, right? So you really want to structure it in a way where you're answering the who. So who is this agent, right? So like who should it think it is? And that will inform how it actually thinks and how it produces. So you want to answer the who, you want to answer the what. What's the general purpose of what we're looking to get out of the AI? And then you want to ask the how. So you want to tell it how to do it, right? What are the guidelines it should think about? What are the skills that it should use? And like, skills in AI is becoming the hot topic. We may have a webinar on that separately. You want to give it as detailed instructions as possible. And you also want to give it what I would call like the do's and the do nots, right? Like do this, do not do this. So if you give it all of that context, typically it's going to give you a pretty good output. And then the other thing that I'll say before I keep going here is that you don't have to have the expectation that you're going to get it right on the first time. A lot of the times, really getting to that great prompt is prompting, testing, seeing what the output looks like. What did it do right? What did it do wrong? What did you like? What did you dislike? Providing that feedback back to the AI to get to that point. And then usually, this is a little tip and trick that I will usually do as well, is I'll ask it to rate itself. I'll say, hey, like, hey, on a scale of 0 to 10, what would you rate this prompt? For whatever reason, it never normally will tell you a 10 out of 10. It'll say, oh, this is an 8 out of 10. So I'll always go back one final time and say, what do you need to do to make this a 10 out of 10? And then it'll sort of refine itself. So that's a nice little tip and trick for you guys. But as you can see here, I've structured this prompt using that who, what, how sort of methodology. So what's the purpose of this? What are the guidelines? What are some of the skills that it needs to have? And then I've given it sort of step-by-step instructions for what I really want it to do. And these step-by-step instructions oftentimes can be pulled out of the real step-by-step instructions that a real person would have been doing to do this task. That's why, again, it's super critical to have that visibility into the work that's taking place in your organization. And that's, what Reejig sort of does at the starting point to help our customers identify these areas of AI impact that they can be automating and building these agents for. And then again, right, what should it do if it finds an error or if there's a limitation? What does an example look like? All of this stuff. So once we have a prompt that we love, we're going to go ahead and save that. And again, Microsoft Copilot is a little bit slow. So, okay, went faster that time. It's going to put it all in here for you. So great. So we've got a name for the agent. We got a description. We've picked a model. We have a prompt that we think is going to be pretty awesome. Now, the next step, which is probably the most critical after creating that prompt, is adding knowledge, right? So the beautiful thing about agents is that they could actually retrieve information and knowledge from pretty much anywhere. So in many cases, you want it to go out to the internet, out to different websites to do some research and pull that knowledge in to help inform the answers or the output that it's going to have for you. But in this specific example, when we're talking specifically about like compensation, we want to have strict guardrails around the data that it's going to be pulling from because we wouldn't want it to go out to the internet to pull data that's maybe not applicable to our own organization. So for this agent, we are going to provide our own knowledge or our own data. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to add knowledge from two spreadsheets that we have here, and you should be able to see the spreadsheets. These are just examples. So this was a spreadsheet that we created. This is all fake data, but this is a spreadsheet that we created that's going to represent an internal HR salary bands document. So this is what we have set for these roles in these locations within our organization. That's one document. And then the other document is going to be a spreadsheet that we've created that is going to be sort of an external market benchmark. So here are the roles, here are the locations, here's sort of what the market is there. Like this spreadsheet is actually a great example of a spreadsheet that you could actually use AI to build out and do a deep research project to pull some of this information if you don't already have it. But these two documents together are going to make up the knowledge that we're going to tell this agent to pull from. So I'm going to go ahead and add that knowledge. I have them in OneDrive, but you can have them in a SharePoint. You can pull from Salesforce. If you have SQL database, all of those. But I have them here in OneDrive, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose those two. 1, 2. I'm going to confirm that selection, and I'm going to add this to the agent. And while that is taking its time, Nuno, any questions or can I keep rolling?
No, I think good feedback so far from what you're doing. So this is really good. There's so Tony makes a question which is really interesting. Tony is in talent acquisition and rightfully so. He's saying, listen, is this that we're building, will this interfere with other agents that I might eventually have in the organization? Now, I just want to make sure that we actually connect with some of the things that we said in the beginning. Is that this is why it is important for you to ultimately have full visibility of the work and the agents that you have in the organization, right? So and it's to build with purpose and not to build on top of or not to build as a duplication of what already exists. So again, this is not a sales speech, but this is what we ultimately are focusing on, is giving visibility to the organizations of the work that exists in the organization, building and bridging and orchestrating this work in agents so that you understand what's already done, what can already be done, how can you leverage already agents that exist in your organization. And then if you don't have agents that will help you automate part of the work, then you actually go there, with purpose. Doing that avoids actually just competing and agents competing with others, because what we're seeing is the workflow and automating the workflow and where each agent will ultimately play a role as well. So I think it was a really, really good question. So
Yeah, it's
good job,
great.
Jeff.
Great question. And like Nuno said, right, not a sales pitch, but there's going to be a lot of organizations that have a huge library of agents, right? So in many cases, there may be agents that have already been built that are doing this. So having visibility into all those agents that you have is pretty important we do that at Rejig, right? We will provide a look into the library. And when we're looking at all of the work that's taking place, if an agent already exists, then we will actually recommend that agent before we tell you to build a new one, right? We only sort of recommend building a new one if there isn't currently an agent. So hopefully that answers your question. In terms of are they going to, mess each other up? They shouldn't mess each other up as long again as we give them strict guidelines. We're not allowing them to change data. It should be completely fine. And then we're not going to do that today, but you could also build agents in Copilot Studio that interact with other agents. So now you can start having one agent do one task or subtask, another agent doing another subtask. Then you can build a master agent that's essentially leveraging multiple agents. So cool.
Jeff, a quick question that Marek
Yep.
has here, and guys, I'm not a Copilot expert. Maybe Jack is, and Jeff is, but um, does Copilot has a sort of agents kind of orchestration capability already? Do you know that, even if it's not the purpose? If just yes or no?
Um, it depends on the complexity that you. I don't understand like what the complexity that you're referencing. It does have basic orchestration. So like again, you could have several agents. I'll actually show you down here. I'm not gonna build it, but I'll show you where that comes into play. So real quick before I keep going on here, the knowledge now is ready. Critical step here is I do not want this agent to do web search. So I've disabled that, right? I do not want it to pull in salary data from who knows where that's going to inform answers that are going to be inaccurate or potentially incorrect. So again, when you're thinking about the agent you're building and you're thinking about the knowledge that you want it to have access to, keep in mind whether you want those firm guardrails. And if you do not let it go out and search the web. So it's really easy. This is disabled. If I wanted it to go search the web, you can just enable this. So now with regards to what you were saying in terms of orchestration and things of that sort, you can connect this agent with another agent, right? So like there's some basic um, uh, capabilities there. If you wanted something more complex, you probably would want to use a tool like an N8N, which I think is pretty popular in the enterprise, or like a LangChain, where you're really building massive workflows with node connections and things of that sort. And that's for me personally in the past where I've built, more complex things that are sort of working across multiple agents or multiple data sources. I've used like N8N or there's something called Relay that I actually really enjoy for my personal agents because it's pretty easy to do that. Cool. So we essentially now we have the name, we have the model, we have the prompt, and we have the knowledge. So we basically have the agent. So the next step is that we want to go ahead and test out this agent. So we can ask it questions here. And when you're in Copilot, you may see that you don't have this test window open initially. So it may look like this. No problem. Very easy. You just want to go ahead and click this little test button here, and then it's going to allow you to test. So if I drop a question in here, can you approve an offer of US 70,000 for a senior HR manager in Austin? It should start going after. Let me allow this. We got to give it permission to go after those data sources, and it should take a second. Okay, looks like it's querying it. And then it's giving us an answer. Cool. The approved salary band for a senior HR manager in Austin is 112. So it looks like we're getting a deal there. An offer of 70 is significantly below the approved range, cannot be approved. Oh, we're trying to undercut this person. So that's good though, right? It's not just saying, yeah, go for it, right? Pay this person under market value. Let me ask you one more question just to see if I'm happy with
Don't be
sort
cheap, Jeff. Don't be cheap.
of. Well, that's
And
why you
Jeff,
wanted
just a quick a quick kind of time check as well. We are at 1:42, so I know that we said maybe 5 minutes for Q&A as well. But at this moment, I think we've built the agent, and now I think you're testing it. But just giving you the time check there.
Yep. No, and we're good. So I'm happy with these answers. I'm happy with this agent. So what you would do is you would publish this agent. Um, so you just hit publish and publish. And this is essentially going to make this agent available to your organization. And once the agent is published, you'll then have the ability to actually push this agent so that it is accessible on other channels. And if this actually finishes up in a second, I'll show you. But the most common place that we see a lot of our customers deploying their agents is going to be to Microsoft Teams. So if I go to channels, these are all the different places. If I go to Teams, I can go ahead and make sure that this agent will be accessible in Microsoft Teams. I'm going to add that channel. It's turning it on in Teams. And then you'll be able to go into Teams that will be listed on the left-hand column. And you can just start asking the questions right there in Teams, which is the solution that you probably are using within your organization. Then you have a compensation offer approval agent. Done. Perfect. Amazing. Published. Done. 2 minutes to go. So how was that? So let's open it up to questions.
Yeah, and if we see, so one thing, so there's a question from Simon, can you keep the agent private to only certain teams? Assuming yes.
Yes. Yep.
Do we know that? Yes, we do.
Yep.
I think you can frame it and open it to whether it's for a given scope. I think it's good. Guys, as I said from the beginning, any feedback would be extremely important for us, whether it's now or just reach out to us as well. Jeff, if you don't mind, if you go to the last two slides there real quick, and if you guys want to take a print screen, no problem at all. Just what we wanted to show is that, of course, as we go around kind of orchestrating work and orchestrating agents, we're putting together kind of a framework of what needs to be done and how. You see there like a 1 to 8 kind of step of our framework. It starts with making work visible. Go and test and build your agents, demystify the complexity. Try to do, whether again personally or professionally, try to be good and better at this and prompting and all of that. What I would do is that then be very purposeful on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve. And that's a little bit of a guidance step by step of what can and should ultimately be done to make the work visible, to make re-engineer your workflows, to reimagine work, to build your agents, to test your agents, and if it makes sense, then replicating and scaling it as well. And if you go to session number 11 or slide number 11, what a lot of companies, what we're seeing is that they're not doing like huge transformations as we've seen before, like millions of dollars of investment. They're doing what we call this stealth change management, which is, let's automate one workflow at a time, but let's do it with purpose. Let's drive our focus on where to automate, how to automate, and with an intent to positively impact the work of someone, whether it's ours or of someone else in the organization as well. So that's what we're seeing. So if you guys, we have many friends in this session. If you guys want to know more, if you want to know more about Reejig, if you just kind of engage in a conversation around how to do this and why understanding work is so important to build agents, and how are other companies doing this, and so on and so forth, then just reach out. So scan it. You'll talk to me or with Richard or with Alex, folks here internally, that will guide you to what we're seeing, how we're helping other organizations also evolve very purposefully, very fast, on becoming this AI-powered workforce, on building an AI-powered work and AI-powered workforce as well, which is ultimately giving them the competitive advantage that they are all seeking as well. Jeff, with this, I think we are 1 minute over.
That's not bad. I'll take 1 minute.
So
1 minute past. Yes. No. I mean, thank you everybody for joining. Like this was the first webinar in this series, so this series will evolve. So we'll send out an email to everybody probably tomorrow. My selfish ask for you is if you could just reply to that email, just letting us know like what you thought of this session. But more importantly, what you would love to see in future sessions, that will help us sort of evolve this into something that I think will be really useful for a lot of different people. So just give us your feedback. Let us know what you would love to see in a future version of this, or if you want us to go slower, or if you want us to like any feedback you have would be really appreciated. And hopefully we'll see you on the next one that we do.
Yes. Thank you so much. We will also share the prompt. I think it's okay, Jeff. There was an
Yep.
ask also there. So,
Yep.
and for the questions that are not like more Copilot specific, Leo, we will of course answer. Those that are more Copilot specific, maybe I think you need probably to address to some of your IT teams as well. But we'll do as the best we can. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.